Imagine you're in your apartment getting ready for work, and in what feels like an instant, everything changes. You grab what you can, hurry to the airport, and get on a flight to a new country. You don't know exactly where you'll land, if you speak the language, even what the weather's like. But you're headed there to start a new life. Would you do it? Could you do it? Many Afghans don't have a choice.
Actually, when I first heard that Taliban took over Kabul, and I couldn't believe a government, a system, a regime which were built in 20 years just collapsed in one day or 1 week. I couldn't believe. I was like, am I dreaming? Is it true?
Fawzia Ahsan remembers her own days in Afghanistan. Her family fled when she was a young girl, then came back, and years later she decided once again she needed to get out.
I came to the United States with a visa, and I put asylum here because the situation after 2015 in my country was getting worse and worse, and Taliban was getting territory. So my thought was, it is not working for me.
Now, with the Taliban back in power and thousands of Afghans evacuating to America, Fawzia's sharing her experience with classmates at the University of North Florida, where she's getting a master's in international relations.
I only can reach to people who are living in Kabul. My brother is in Kabul and my relatives, friends. I'm in contact with them, I'm asking, and they say, this is the worst. The situation, you cannot imagine how worse it is for them.
Many Afghans left so quickly that they didn't have time to get formal refugee or special immigrant visa status like Fawzia. Instead, the US government categorized them as parolees. The idea being, get them out of Afghanistan quickly and figure out the paperwork later. But without formal refugee or special immigrant visa status, organizations that traditionally help resettle refugees initially faced significant limitations in their ability to do so.
It's interesting for us as a resettlement agency to serve them because typically we don't serve individuals with a parolee status. We serve refugees, we serve Cuban and Haitian entrants, and we serve those with special immigrant visas.
Let's stop here for a second. When Laura Cook's talking about parolees or someone who has parolee status, it's probably different than what you're thinking. It doesn't have anything to do with criminality, like someone who just got out of jail on parole. In this case, it just means someone who's ineligible to enter the United States because they're not an actual refugee. They're just given this status because of the emergency in Afghanistan.
They don't actually qualify for a lot of our federal grant-funded programs because of that status. So we follow them for the first 90 days. They'll have a caseworker, we'll do core services like cultural orientation, job placement. We'll take them to the health department, set them up with a primary care physician. We will enroll their kids in school. But right now, with that parolee status, we're really only able to serve them up to that 90 days, whereas everyone else in the refugee SIV statuses, we can serve them up to 5 years in our refugee services programs that we have. And so that would take an act of Congress for them to change that eligibility requirement so that we can serve them fully up to 5 years.
7 weeks after Kabul fell to the Taliban, Congress did just that, passing the Welcomed Act. It was tucked into a larger bill Congress passed to temporarily fund the government. And it gives Afghans with parolee status the same benefits as those with special immigrant visas, so they can establish a new life in America.
But you're literally showing up with a suitcase. You weren't able, by the way, to probably sell anything in Afghanistan like your home before you left. So you need to get a job, you need to have a place to live, you just need to get some assistance to get started. That's why these programs exist, and that's why refugees coming from anywhere else in the world get these basic benefits to get their lives together. And we've got to make sure the evacuees from Afghanistan have them as well.
Massachusetts Democrat Seth Moulton sponsored the Welcomed Act and says now that it's signed, additional services should soon be available to Afghans with parolee status. And studies show that it won't just be the Afghan refugees that benefit. No matter where in America they settle, research finds that immigrants benefit the local economy and job force more than most people realize. A 2017 report from the bipartisan research and advocacy group New American Economy added up how much money 2.3 million immigrants earned in 2015. It was a whopping $77 billion. Almost $21 billion was paid in taxes, leaving $53 billion in disposable income to be used across the U.S. economy.
To be honest, they're a really resilient people group. A lot of our refugees they come to they're the new city, and they use all resources available to them to help their family to become self-sufficient here and to live a productive life. And it's really interesting to see how hardworking they are and how resourceful they are to be able to live a good life here in the United States. A lot of our refugees that we resettle, they become business owners. They'll open their own businesses in the community, which will have jobs for people in our community. They'll have services. They buy homes and they buy cars. They just have this spirit of resiliency.
For the people who leave their countries, it is not an easy thing to do. For them today, leaving the country is only an option. It is not one option out of options. It's only the option. It is just for survive. When they try to get out of the country, they don't know where they are going, what would happen to them, or where they go, Pakistan, Iran, America. They don't know. They just want to get out, to survive.